Hey everyone, RenTrain here and welcome back to Honkai Star Rail. As you all can see, we are here in the beautiful town of Penacony because this is not gonna be our usual pull or endgame content video. This is gonna be a new type of video. Oh, what are you doing? Get out of here. I didn't even hit him. Firefly, you do it. As I was saying, this video is gonna be a tier list based on the characters that I currently have in my account. Since this is based off on my account, you might see characters here that are actually strong, but since I don't have their proper supports, they might be lower in the list. But at the end of the day, this is still based on my opinion, and if you do disagree, then you can go to hell. Then you can go to the comment section and enlighten every single one of us. Who knows, there might be a feature of that character that I'm actually missing out, and that will be super helpful if you do. But in all seriousness, if you are gonna comment below your ideas, let's do it in an orderly fashion like ladies and gentlemen. There's really no need to make a riot down there, and I am willing to listen to any ideas that you have to say. And with that out of the way, let's rank these characters, shall we? So here's the tier list that I made for the characters that I currently have in the account. We have in the tier list are A on level, Tier A, Tier B, Tier C, and Tier D. And then for this tier, here are the characters that I don't have, but my friends have them. So later at the end of the video, I will be placing them at their respective tiers, and I will try my best to explain it, but take it with a grain of salt because I don't have these characters, and I'm gonna base them on how my friends play them when we kind of stream in Discord and whatever. And then here are the unranked characters that we don't really have or never used at all. It's kind of unfair to rate the characters that we don't really use. I will also be taking into account the eidolons that I have for the current characters, the same thing with these guys right here. Before we begin, I would like to say that the left side of the tier list is the stronger characters, and then on the right side will be the weaker ones. Well, not particularly weak, but weak in that tier. So March is going to be the weakest at C, and Serval is going to be the strongest at C, just to let you guys know. Alright, so that's enough chit chat, and let's start with the D tier. If they got removed from the game, it will not affect me at all. And let's start with Xingqiu and Sui Yi, since these two characters are kinda similar. So both of these characters are from the DPS Quantum realm, and I'm just gonna tell you guys that I did not commit to these two characters, but I did use them. However, I feel like Sui Yi is kind of weak, although there are some people there that can make her work, but I just can't really. However, for Sui Yi, as for Xingqiu, she is not E4 in my account, which you kind of need. That's why I stopped building her. And I guess another factor for them being at D tier is because I have Silly. And if I really just need to clear out a quantum weak boss, then I'll just use Silly rather than these two. Next will be Yukong. I feel like Yukong can be a strong character, but she just has a high skill ceiling. If you didn't know, Yukong can only buff the first two characters after her skill. And those two characters can really make a difference because your third character might be your DPS, which needed the buffs. I just really wish that her last eidolon would have been a buff to 3 characters instead of just 2. But I guess since she is only a 4-star, that's why they didn't give her that eidolon. Last in the D tier will be Yanqing, and I feel like I don't even have to explain why this guy is down here, but I will. If you guys didn't know, Yanqing gets his buff by using a skill or any other attack. I think it's been a long time since I used this guy. But once he gets hit, that buff is gone, because it's such a baby that he doesn't want to get hit. And as you can see, none of my characters here give out a solid shield. I guess you can say March can give a solid shield, but she is in the hunt path. I'm not gonna use the preservation pad anymore since I have better characters if I just need sustain. I do wish he just has a different passive. He might have been at C or maybe at B tier or maybe even A tier if it's so good. But since he has that lame passive and he's just gonna keep resetting himself after each hit, then he might as well just make himself comfortable here. Next we will have is C tier, emergency use. These characters will be deployed when I really need them for a specific scenario, like I have to check multiple boxes just for them to get in a team. And let's start with the 3 sustained characters that we have here at the bottom. We have March 7th, Natasha, and Lynx. These 3 characters can do their job just fine, but since we have other characters that can just give buffs and heal at the same time, it just feels like they're not on par anymore. But you can't really go wrong with a strong healer and a shielder. March is at the bottom of the tier since she only gives out shields. I do hear people say that she is good in pure fiction because of her ultimate, but if you just need to freeze characters, then just use Pela. Natasha is at the second lowest at the tier since she can actually do an emergency heal with her ultimate, which March cannot do. Both characters have cleanse with their skills, but Natasha has the edge because of that ultimate. Lynx is just a better version of Natasha, although I guess it's kind of a nerf that her cleanse is at the ultimate instead of the shield. But rather than that, she has stronger heals. Next will be Seely, my first DPS, and it's so sad on how far she has fallen. But the thing is, I feel like she can still be strong with the right team, but remember, I do not have Sparkle. I almost said this is Sparkle, but this is Sparkle. Another point for Seely is she can no longer one-shot thugs or summons of enemy characters, which she really needs to increase her damage output. And I really think that's her biggest drawback. She just can't one-shot anymore. She really needs those last hits. Next will be Bailu. You guys might be surprised that she's up here at C and not at D. But I made a prototype of this tier list and she used to be at 80. I even had a feeling that she's a better Fushuan. Fushuan's kinda weak with AoE characters, but she isn't. And that's why I felt like she was strong. However, the new MOC kinda gave me a slap of reality, and I'm not really sure what happened there. All of my characters started to die because of that. That's why she went from A to a C. Next will be Luca. Luca is kind of a weird one. He's a nihility character but a single target. And as of the moment, single target characters are kinda weak, except for a few exceptions. And we will get to those exceptions later in the video. But Luca used to be with Kafka before, but now I'm kind of pairing him with Boothill. Boothill needs Ruan Mei's weakness efficiency, but Ruan Mei is not always going to be available for Boothill. That's why I use Luca since both of them are physical characters. But as of the moment, Luca doesn't really seem to be in a good spot. Guinevere is kind of a mini version of Kafka, since Guinevere's ult can also activate DOT, except it's only for burn. That's all that she can provide, and her being a fire character doesn't really help since I have other fire characters that I can use. Serval will be the strongest at the C tier. You don't know on how many times Serval has saved me in pure fiction. Because usually I have Akron and Kafka, but these two go together. And if I needed another electric character, then Serval would come in and save the day. That's pretty much it for Serval. She's just a standard DPS at the end of the day. Next will be B tier, scenario based. When we say scenario, it depends on the endgame content, the weakness of the enemy, and the characters that I currently have in the team. So let's start off with my favorite 4-star, Asta. Oh, how far you have fallen. Asta gives speed and attack buffs. However, for her ultimate, I don't really feel that her speed buff makes a difference. And I really hate her skill. I hate bounce skills. I hate it for Welt, for the Harmony MC, and for Sampo. I really hate those. I really wish that they will never ever make another bounce skill character. Going back to Asta, if you just needed someone to break fire weakness and be a support, then she's a good bet. But other than that, there are other characters that are better than her. Hopefully we get an alternate version of Asta, but I feel like they won't give it to her. Next will be the strongest character in the lore but is actually so disappointing in the game. That will be Welt, people. In my account, Welt can provide two things. The imaginary weakness break and the slowness for the enemy. And that's pretty much it. My Welt is a sustained Welt. He is not a traditional Welt, although I kinda want to make him a DPS by building him crit damage and crit rate. But as of the moment, I don't really need a DPS for imaginary since I have other characters. Next will be Silverwolf. Her gimmick is no longer useful since characters can do it on their own. So if we remove her gimmick, she's just like Pela but single target, and single target is not in a good position as of the moment. However, if you are gonna run her with another quantum DPS, I feel like she can still shine since she can provide the weakness efficiency break. But other than that, if we just need the defense shred, then just run Pela or Jiao Cho. Next on the list is Dr. Ratio, and it's kinda sad that he is this low in my account. I did a damage test between him and Fei Xiao, and I thought the results are gonna be close, but not at all. He just needs too many things to make him work. You need the buffs, you need the debuff so he can get that follow-up attack, which is not really helping. He is kinda like Akron but single target and imaginary, and as of the moment, there are only a few enemies that are weak to imaginary, and those enemies are usually weak to fire, wind, and physical also, which kinda defeats the purpose of Dr. Ratio since there are better characters to deal with those enemies. Although if you do need a DPS for imaginary, then he's still a good go. Next will be Bronya, and Bronya is only in one team, which is Boothill, and Boothill doesn't even benefit at all at Bronya's buffs except for the advance forward. So if I get another DPS that can benefit Bronya, but I guess Sunday and Sparkle can do her job better, so she's gonna be still at the middle tier. Herta's role is just too specific, only if I need her in pure fiction. That's pretty much it. Next is Tingyun. I usually use Tingyun when I need a DPS's ult as fast as possible. Those are usually Topaz and Dr. Ratio. I don't remember any other character, but those two characters are usually what I run with Tingyun. And that's pretty much it. She gives out good buffs, sure, but the energy regeneration is such a good perk. The last one is Himiko. The only reason Himiko is up here rather than Herta is because in pure fiction, there are only a few stages that it's weak to ice. And there are more stages that are weak to fire. That's why Himiko is up here. But if we're just gonna base it on soul power of the two, Herta will be stronger. Second to the last tier is the A tier, confident enough to use them. There's nothing wrong with these characters. I feel strong when I use them. So the first one here is Sampo. If you guys would notice, I only have 3 wind characters here, which are Fei Xiao, Sampo, and Bronya. And I'm not even gonna count Bronya as a wind character since there are only a few times where I have to use her basic attack, and that's usually when I don't have a skill point available. So Sampo is a pretty good partner for Kafka, and he is AoE. However, I hate his skill because it's freaking bounce, and I really hate the bounce skills. But other than that, if you just need a wind AoE character, then you can't go wrong with Sampo. Just don't rely too much on his skill. Just to not be confused, this is the Harmony MC. He's the only one that I'm using as of the moment. The only thing that's keeping him from Aeon level is his skill and his basic attack. I really hate that I have to break enemy weaknesses with his skill or basic attack. There is really no way to avoid that. And if you are a break player, you would know that you want to break it with a certain character such as Firefly or Boothill. But since the Harmony MC isn't like that, he is just gonna ruin your day. That is why he's at the lowest at the A tier. But if you just need a super breaker, then you can't go wrong with him. He's the only free to play here. For the next two characters, they have a similar role. Topaz and Numbi and March 7. They usually go with Fei Xiao, depending on the weakness of the enemy. The only advantage that I see in March is March can copy the element of her master or whatever is the skill. So whatever the element of her master, she can also break those weaknesses. But for Topaz and Numbi, you can enable them more since you have the ultimate and her basic attack. Her basic attack counts as a follow-up attack. My brain is telling me that March 7 is stronger, but my heart is saying Topaz is stronger, so we're just gonna go with that. The next one will be Fushuan. I feel like as of the moment, the game is kind of leaning towards to an anti-Fushuan meta. Enemy characters can deal AoE and their damage is no longer a joke. Because before, you can just slap on Fushuan and they will never die. And also her quantum element is not really helping that much because there are only a few enemies that are weak to quantum. So I really hope that she has a different element than quantum. Although her ultimate is kinda good if you just need to break characters. But good luck on finding a quantum weak enemy. She does give out buffs, but those are not enough. But I guess she is a preservation character at the end of the day. Next we have is Pela. And Pela is a really good character as of the moment. She is good with Acheron, Kafka, Boothill, and other characters. Her element is helping. Ice damage is such a common element for the enemy team. And her AoEs are so good. And just for the fact that her skill is one of the best ones that can remove buffs. Although it's kind of rare, but if you can remove it, then it's such a good skill. Next will be Kafka, and oh boy, I hate to see DOT at its lowest as of the moment. Kafka used to be my most flexible character. Like in any mode, it doesn't even have to be a lightning weak enemy. Because I can bring in characters such as Sampo, Guinevere, and even Luca. They will always do the job for her. All she needs to do is just to activate those DOTs, and that is so good. She can penetrate through the enemies even with their shields up, and I hate to see it at her lowest. Although I do admit that I don't have Black Swan to fully utilize her. But she is still a strong character, but as of the moment, she is kind of in a weird spot, or DOT is in a weird spot. So hopefully we do get a support that can help them. And I guess the two elements such as Quantum and Imaginary are not helping, since those two DOTs suck as much. Although I am kind of playing her differently, I am playing her with Acheron. She is so good with Acheron. She has her follow-up attack, her skill, and her ultimate. that gives out 3 stacks for Acheron, and that is so good. Acheron can only give 2 for herself. However, Kafka can give 3, which is so good. And both of them are electric AoE characters, which will break any electric enemy as soon as possible, which is super nice. And that's probably why she's here at A tier, because she is so strong with Acheron. However, if she is gonna go with the DOT route, she's probably here at B tier. DOTs are not in a good spot as of the moment, and hopefully we do get that character that can buff it. And the last one will be Boothill. The only thing that's keeping Boothill from Aeon level is because of Firefly. Boothill is just a variant of Super Break, and he is a single target. However, he is one of the characters that are an exception for that. He is so good. He melts people so fast, and alongside Fugue, which is such a huge buff for him. But the thing is, if Fugue is a buff for Boothill, then Fugue is also a buff for Firefly. And that's pretty much the loop here. If Boothill gets buffed, then Firefly also gets buffed. I hope you guys are understanding what I'm trying to say here. And that's the only thing that's keeping him. It's not because he is single target, because he is a good single target unit. It's just that Firefly does his job better. Last one is Aeon level. Makes enemies look like a joke. These are the characters that I will never go wrong with. They will decimate everything in their way. So Fugue will be at the Aeon level. So why is Fugue at the Aeon level? If you guys remember my issues with the Harmony MC, Fugue just fixes that. She doesn't have that annoying bounce skill, and she can avoid attacking characters with her skill, which is already so good. And just to mention, her ultimate deals a lot of damage. Although it's kind of inconsistent, but it deals so much damage. The highest that I got is 400k. And also the fact that she brings in another weakness bar is so good. You can deal so much damage with that. Next up on the list is Fei Xiao, and Fei Xiao is what I really needed in my account. I really needed that wind character as fast as possible, because I was using Sample all of the time, and Sample wasn't doing that well because of his skill. If he only had the blast skill or AoE skill, it would have been so much better, but no, I had to rely on that RNG skill, which is so bad. But Fei Xiao just fixed everything. Fei Xiao is one of those characters that are not weak to the single target archetype. Her follow-up attacks gave her the advantage that she needed, and the fact that she can also work with other characters so well, such as Topaz, March, and even Adventurine if you have that guy. You can't really go wrong with Fei Xiao, so it's gonna make me cry when she's out of the meta. And to make her stick in the meta, we have Robin. If I didn't pull for Robin, I feel like Fei Xiao would have been so weak. She would have been an A tier or maybe B tier because of that. Robin is such a good support for follow-up attackers. I'm not sure about DOTs, I don't really feel her buffs there. But for follow-up attackers, she is a must-have. Acheron is next on the list, and she is the best electric character that I have. And the fact that I don't have to rely on energy is so good. I usually run her with Kafka, Pela, and Fushuan. I don't really run him with Gallagher because Gallagher is mostly at the Firefly team or at the Boothill team if needed. But if I am running him with Gallagher, then this is how it goes. So Acheron's skill gives out 2 stacks, Kafka gives 3 stacks, Pela can give 2, and Gallagher can give 2 as well, which is already 1 ultimate for Acheron. She is so good. However, I feel like her skill is kinda underwhelming. It's kinda like a bounce skill. It feels too weak, but without the RNG. I'm not really sure. You shouldn't even be relying on her skill anyway, so that's okay. And next is the DPS that set the new standards for DPS, Firefly. Why she's broken? Well, let's see. She's AoE, Fire Element. Oh wait, the enemy is not weak to fire? Oh well, just slap an ult on them. And look at that, we fixed the problem, they're now fire weak. I don't really see any other weakness in Firefly. If you have E0 Firefly, then you might struggle a bit, but I have E1. And if you have E2, then you are a lucky bat. She is so strong as of the moment, and I don't see her getting power creep anytime soon. Maybe even not at all. Next is Gallagher, the strongest 4-star in the game. He will keep your team alive no matter what. And the last one is the woman that wants to be a god herself, Ruan Mei. Without Ruan Mei, Firefly is not a thing. And I guess a good comparison will be Ruan Mei and Robin. Robin has the best attack buff out of everyone in the game, and she can also advance forward their allies after her ultimate. However, for Ruan Mei, she has the resistance penetration buff, the speed buff, the enemy delay debuff, the free skill point if you have her light cone, and most importantly, that weakness efficiency buff is so good on any character. It doesn't have to be a break character. She gives out 5 out of 2 for Robin. I'm not sure if I'm missing something from Robin, but those are the only 2 buffs that I know. The attack and the advance forward. And yeah, that's pretty much it for my tier list, and let's head on and add these other characters. So here are the other characters, so let's start from the top to the bottom. So Ling Sha is just a 5-star Gallagher. And of course, this guy is the best support or the best preservation character as of the moment. Then for A tier, we have Jiao Cho is such a good partner for Acheron, hands down. I'm not really sure about Yun Li, all I know she is just a better Clara. So if you just need a character that can do AoE physical damage, I guess she is your woman to try.
What?
Sparkle is a better Bronya and an enabler for other quantum DPS such as Silly and Chingcho. You might be wondering why Clara is up here, because my friend actually has E4 Clara. I'm not sure what E4 does, so that's why she is up here. Black Swan is a good support for Kafka, and she doesn't have that annoying bounce skill that Sampo has. I'm not really sure about Argenti, but I think he is good at pure fiction since he is an erudition character. And you'd probably want someone like Ho-Ho and Tingyun, because he does need that energy. Daniel is up here at A, and just to let you know that this is an E2 Daniel. My friend actually ranked him first at B, but I told him that the Eidolons are included, so he put him here at A. Although I think his gimmick's a bit annoying, so you will probably need Sparkle for that one. Next will be Locha at the B tier, and I think it's because of his ultimate and his passive that automatically heals allies. C tier will be for Jingliu and Blade. I'm not really sure why they're here. I can't really explain. Yeah, I really have no idea what these two do. All I know is that they're a standard DPS that relies on crit damage and crit rate, so maybe that is a factor of that. Gepard is also here at C, and the only thing I don't like about Gepard is kinda like the Harmony MC. It's kinda annoying that his shield is behind an ultimate. Your team will probably be dead before he can even cast his ultimate. And that's pretty much it for the characters that I don't have but my friends do, so appreciate the help, friends. Thank you. I guess I can try and rank these other characters, but just to let you know, I really don't know anything about these other characters. Sunday will be at Aeon level. He's just a better Bronya and Sparkle, by the way. Rapple will be at A tier. She is just an erudition character, so probably pure fiction. I'm not sure about the other 2 modes, but she is just a variant of the Super Break team. Mose will be at A tier since he is like Topaz and March. Jade will be at A tier since she is also an erudition character. Misha will be at D tier. I don't really see this guy anywhere. Ho-Ho will be at A tier because of that heal, cleanse, and energy regen. Hanya will be at B tier. I kind of forgot what she does, but I think she is a budget Sparkle. Jing Yuan will be at A tier because of Sunday. Zhu Shang will be at C, I guess, since super breaks are a thing. Hook will be a D tier character if you just need someone to do fire damage. There are other characters that can do their job better. Normal Danheng will be at a D tier. He's a standard DPS, crit rate, crit damage. There are other characters that can do his job better. I guess I should also rank the other 2 modes for the MC, so the Preservation one will be at B tier, and the Destruction one will be at D tier. And there we go, that's all the characters ranked in the list. And that's gonna wrap up today's video, and thank you all so much for watching. But do not worry, because we will be back for some more action. And if you do find this video quite entertaining, then be a bro and leave a like below. And really enjoy this kind of content, then consider subscribing to see more of these videos in the future. But until then, stay cool, stay classy, and I will see you all at the next one.